Hello, everybody, and welcome to another tournament video, our little March Madness brackets. In this episode, we are going to start with a pretty interesting matchup of two games that are incredibly long, though I guess one of them doesn't have to be long. One of them could actually be beat in like an hour, and that is Breath of the Wild versus Persona 5. We have the newest installment of the Legend of Zelda franchise, a beautiful open-world RPG that a lot of people would say kind of revitalized this series. Saved isn't the right word. Zelda would have been fine regardless, but the last couple were controversial. This one wasn't. It was pretty much universally loved. Persona 5 is the same way, though. The Persona series wasn't as well known until this game came out, and it kind of made Persona something that everyone kind of fell in love with. People started going back and playing it. People started paying attention to this franchise, and so both of these games kind of lifted up franchises that were already historically legends. So this is going to be an interesting debate for whoever wants to start.
Let's just start it off and get it out of the way. Persona 5 kicks Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild's ass in the music department.
Oh, yeah. I think Persona 5 kicks like every game's ass besides like 2.
Well, Legend of Zelda's soundtracks are usually fantastic. It's just the issue with Persona 5. The issue is with the Breath of the Wild soundtrack. Again, we've talked about it before in our Breath of the Wild breakdown and whatnot, but there's nothing that I can really defend about it in terms of you want a big adventurous soundtrack. You only really get that when you're in Hyrule Castle. So
yeah,
sorry, Breath of the Wild. Like again, conscious design decision. It's fine and all, but your music is not as good.
Yeah, and I understand like they wanted the background kind of like more ambient type of music, which I think it did great. But you do miss that more intense, dramatic piece that you can like hum and think about, and I at least wish there would have been some instrument in the game that plays like melodies and tunes that you're used to. It just seemed like it completely tossed away the classic music for like just that small melodic piece. Persona 5
you can't beat the blooming villain theme. That theme is just so damn good.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is like Persona 5 is the exact opposite. Persona 5 lived for like explosive pieces like Blooming Villain, Rivers in the Desert for like the last few bosses in the game was such an incredible theme because you fall in love with Blooming Villain and then they change the boss theme song and make one that's even better than that. And so like it's like, man, this is really getting intense now. Last Surprise for just like the normal enemies is so cool, and the way like it kind of just picks up and even like just the ambient background music in different levels, it's just so overwhelming and incredible, and there was not a single piece of music in that game that I thought was bad. So yeah, music wise, Persona 5 was legendary.
So moving on from music then, if we're talking about gameplay, Breath of the Wild in terms of like being in a sandbox, interacting with the world in so many different ways, Breath of the Wild I think is almost unparalleled, where people go for that game just to kind of screw around. It was like the same thing that people did in Skyrim and like Grand Theft Auto. Breath of the Wild was perfect for those people to waste tons of hours without even a purpose in the world, just seeing what you can do. And that is one place that Breath of the Wild excels in.
Yeah, well, it's just like...
How does Persona 5 compete?
I mean, not as well. You can interact with the environment, but not to that extent. Breath of the Wild, like, every rock and leaf there you can interact with, and there's like a million different things you can do to beat the game. Persona 5 is definitely very linear. There's not a lot of exploration in it. There's always like little branching paths and things you can do, but you go in, you do a level, and you kind of go through the motions. Even if you think like you found a special way, it's probably just the game wanting you to do something a little bit creative.
Yeah.
It's never really pushing you to be creative. It's pushing you in the combat system. It is exploration wise, it doesn't really do that, which is surprising for a 100-hour game, but I think it's so long because of the story and the vastness of the worlds, but there's not a whole lot to explore in terms of just closing your mind and just wandering around. Breath of the Wild, I like you said, I don't know if there's many games better than Breath of the Wild in that regard, where you can wander in an open space and have a great time. No game can do that. It gets boring usually. Breath of the Wild doesn't get boring in that regard, which I think is impressive. But I know Travis has some, opinions about Breath of the Wild.
Well, so just the other day, I was going through my Switch, and I'm like, how many of these games haven't I beaten yet? And now I only have 2 left, which is Sushi Strikers and Breath of the Wild. And for some reason, I'm just like trying to find other games that I haven't beaten yet just to not go back to Breath of the Wild. I don't know why. I just am not into it as much. I only have one more of the Divine Beasts or whatever they were called. It's been a while.
Yep, Divine Beasts.
Yep, Divine Beasts left, the volcano one. And then I guess I go and face Ganon unless something else happens. Who knows? But just I don't know what it is, because like I enjoy the exploring and all that, and like I got all the towers, and then I've gotten a decent amount of like the Deku Nut seed, whatever, to upgrade.
Korok seeds, and
That's the
if you say
one.
decent amount, that's definitely not right. Decent amount, there's 900 in the game, Travis.
Yeah, there's a decent amount. I found like 10.
Run of the mill.
Decent amount.
Yeah, 10, not bad.
You know.
But I mean enough to upgrade the bag, so I'm not constantly empty on everything. But I think part of what because I know I've talked about this with you, Nick, when we were doing the Breath of the Wild thing, is like I just don't like it when I'm going into a battle and then like my sword breaks or my shield breaks, and then I have to go to another one, and then in the same battle the next sword breaks too, and I'm like, well, okay, these were awesome. I'm so glad that I was able to pick these up just to use in this one fight. Like, I know I still have plenty of more swords left, so that's not the issue. It's just, it's annoying that I have to go through a whole side-scrolling thing just to get out my next weapon that'll just probably break anyway. Super soon.
There's a quick way to do it, but either way, out of time. Who are we voting for?
Well, we didn't even talk about the story for these games, and Persona 5 rocks in that regard. Like, I can't vote for Breath of the Wild because I didn't like the story of the game. There was a lot of memories, and so I gotta vote for Persona 5.
I gotta vote for Breath of the Wild for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is that Zelda and Breath of the Wild has the most characters of any Zelda game ever. Another reason is because it's just a fantastic freaking game. I disagree with a lot of what people say about weapon breaking. I don't think it's that much of a factor, and I think that it's perfectly fine. There's very few things that I would critique Breath of the Wild on. The only thing I can really say is music.
Yeah. All right,
Travis?
Oh god, I'm scared. Because I know both of you are so passionate about the games that you picked that I'm just...
I don't care if you pick mine or not.
God.
Just pick. You don't have time.
I think Persona 5. Just because if I haven't wanted to beat the game, it probably means that I just didn't get into it and I don't know. I feel like if I started Persona 5, that I would probably become like Mike and just kind of be like, oh yeah, I just started playing this for like 8 hours straight. It happened.
Alright, Persona 5 moves on. Next matchup.
All right, so in this matchup we have Super Mario Bros. 3, which is an absolutely legendary platformer. Most of the time people compare this one to Super Mario World in terms of what the best 2D Mario platformer is, and a lot of people would pick Super Mario Bros. 3. Despite it coming out on the NES, this game is absolutely gorgeous. Nintendo did such a phenomenal job improving on the Mario category in every single way, so legendary game, and it's taken on Mario Party 2, a very iconic party game. This game sort of defined the party genre. It defined a multiplayer on the Nintendo 64. It's an absolute joy to play. It can enhance friendships. Most of the time it's out there ruining friendships. It has fun mini games, insane board play. It's an all-around incredible N64 experience. These are two Mario titans facing off, so it's exciting to see who's going to come out on top.
I'll just give a little synopsis of both. Mario Bros. 3, again, great platformer in terms of, yeah, it looks like an SNES game, but also it has a screen wrapping problem, so that's probably one of the smallest things that I can have as like a blemish on the game. Otherwise, I think it is basically what you were basically aiming to do with Mario Bros. In terms of a 2D platformer. I like Mario Bros. 3 more than Mario World, but it really doesn't matter as much. I think they're both fantastic games. Mario Party 2 is, again, it's whether it's just a fun single-player platformer versus multiplayer with Mario Party 2. Things different with Mario Party 2 is they brought the costumes. The costumes, I think, are actually a really fun way. Every board that you do is themed. Mini games are freaking fantastic. The dual mini games are good as well. Mario Party 2, as much as I love the original and Mario Party 3 more, I think Mario Party 2, in terms of if you all got together and said which is the objectively best Mario Party game for the N64, it is Mario Party 2. I love Super Mario Bros. 3. Right now I'm inclined to lean towards Mario Party 2 because of how much fun I had. Super Mario Bros. 3 can be a little bit frustrating of an experience, and it actually did blow my mind with some of the mechanics that it had. Mario Party 2, though, I don't think there was... no matter what it is, I think that is what every single Mario Party should be like. Every Mario Party should be like Mario Party 2. It's not my personal favorite, but it is basically the... what's the right word for it? Not baseline, the skeleton. I guess the skeleton of what Mario Party should be.
All right, so I kind of don't agree with you, and here's my main reason why. So the early Mario parties, and for those of you that don't know, I'm a huge GameCube Mario Party fan. I love the way that the GameCube Mario parties did it, because to me they didn't feel luck-based. I feel like Mario Party 2 especially, but all the N64 ones are guilty of this in my opinion, that it's way too luck-based in my opinion, where chance time can completely ruin the game. You could have 10 stars. You could be playing with someone who's not even trying at that point with their eyes closed half the time. They could have no stars. You land on chance time, boom, it switches. The other person wins by 10. To me, I like the idea of having it accessible to players, and so I do like the fact that this game is a bit easier. The minigames are very simple in it. It's a lot of just minigames where you're button mashing or doing things like that. There's not a lot of in-depth skill required to do the minigames, which I think is great. It makes it accessible to a wider audience. What I don't like about this game, though, is that there's too much luck involved. Chance time can completely ruin it, and I think that's what ruins this game for me. If it wasn't for that, and if it was more like the GameCube ones where there's some luck that'll swing it, but it's not going to completely ruin a good player's run in a game, then I'd be all for it. But I think this game takes that a bit too excessively. Super Mario Bros. 3, on the other hand, and one of the things that I love about this game that I want to mention before I stop talking here, is that Mario Bros. 3 is an NES game, something that I mentioned before, and I want to keep emphasizing that, because when you look at this game, it doesn't look like an NES game by any stretch of the imagination. This game looks like it would be a Super Nintendo game. They did so much with it in terms of the graphics, in terms of the coloring. They used a lot of shading techniques and stuff to make it look the way it looks, and to think that they did that on the baseline Nintendo console, the first Nintendo console to come out, created something like this graphically, is so impressive to me. So when I compare the feats of these two games and which ones perfected their craft sooner, Super Mario Bros. 3 corrected it on a harder console to correct something on, and so I think that's why I'm so for Super Mario Bros. 3 in this.
So I will argue on one of those points that you made, and that's when you said that I understand you like more the GameCube, the Wii one, like Mario Party 7 and 8. I will argue with saying that I don't think a lot of them are luck based. Yes, there are a lot of button mashers before, like in the original Mario Party. There's some of the spinning ones, which was a terrible idea for any mini game. I don't know what they were thinking, but what I will say is that if you play it more, I think it's just an experience thing with you, because you haven't played the N64. Your first one was the GameCube, so you're more natural to the GameCube instead of the N64. For people who grew up with the N64, I don't feel like they have that kind of mindset going into it. I will say that there are definitely mini games that are like that, but there are like mini games that are like that in every single Mario Party. I don't think there's one Mario Party that doesn't have a couple luck-based duels.
Yeah.
It's a staple of the game. I think that is just transcends no matter what game it is. I will say though, Mario Party has had some duds, and this is probably one of the peaks of the Mario Party franchise.
All right. Well, do you have any other opinions on anything, Travis, before we go on to voting?
I know I do usually prefer, even though I didn't actually own any of the Mario Parties on my 64, I still played it a crap ton at my friend's house, just because I think I do like how much like luck-based it kind of was, because it kind of allowed for someone like me who didn't own it to still have a chance, versus if I went and played like Mario Party 7 or 8 with you, I'd get my butt kicked because I don't know what I'm doing, versus you, who you can probably just do it behind your back and be like, oh look, I did it. And I also miss those chance times that your mom can fall asleep on the couch and win.
I'm still salty about that. I had 6 freaking stars, man.
It's just, it brings like a big, I don't know, but it's like you're just so on edge when you get into that chance time. You're like, am I about to just lose everything that I've just built my empire upon, or am I about to get even more just because the game can sometimes...
It's good at keeping everybody engaged throughout the entire game.
Exactly.
Which is one of the things that Mario Party is supposed to do.
It appeals to casuals.
Yes, it does.
Which
isn't
it?
Mario 2, though.
No, yeah.
So which one appeals to casuals better?
Is that what we're basing this off of?
I don't know. That's how I'm basing mine off of. Go ahead.
Well,
vote.
Yeah.
Vote, damn it, Mike.
I'm gonna vote Mario Bros. 3. I feel like it was just so innovative and witty in every way, and I don't know. Mario Party 2 was kind of a run-of-the-mill Mario Party in my opinion. So I'm Mario Bros. 3.
I think I'll go Mario Party 2, just because I have a little more experience with it, and I definitely have had crap ton of fun with it, whereas you all remember when we did the race of Mario Bros. 3.
Someone had to bring it up.
I was dead in the first 3 minutes of that thing. So
all right, Nick. It comes down to you.
Sorry, Mike. I don't think the innovating of the console really matters. I think if we're talking about standalone game, I have more fun playing Mario Party 2 than Mario Bros. 3.
Even though it's a shit game?
Even though that you need to shut your mouth.
All right. So.
All right, see you in the next episode, everybody.
Yeah, we're